So, okay, so good morning everyone. It's good to be back at Agile Africa. I was part of the speaker lineup in 2013. It's nice to see it grow. It's nice to see it becoming a multi-track conference. It's nice to see lots of people coming from different parts of the world here. I think this year's committee has done a great job, so hats off to them. I know it's a hard job. Thank you, Kevin, and everyone else. Faisal, I don't know what your contribution was to the committee, but thank you. So what Faisal is being extremely humble about is that largely due to an effort by Cybergate, himself, Barry, and his partner brought Ken back here. That was 10 years ago. Prior to that, I was walking around waving an XP flag and damaging teams with my evangelism. But having been part of the workshop with Ken back in 2015, it changed what I understood of it. And I realized that just reading from a book is insufficient. It is about the conversations that we have with people that are actually in the trenches that actually made a significant difference for me. Now, the most interesting thing about 2013, aside from it being the inaugural Agile Africa conference, was that I gave a talk. According to Karen Reeves and Samantha, it was a talk about racism. It was actually a talk around lessons learned in my own life in the transition from apartheid to democracy within the South African context, and how some of those bigger picture things that were happening in the country over the decades actually played out in the smaller teams, and how it affected the way I worked with people. So it wasn't about racism, it's about what we learned from going from a state controlled by racist laws to a state that is a lot more democratic. That wasn't the interesting thing about the conference. What was interesting was that a couple of days after that, someone called me that was in the audience, listened to my talk, which was very personal, very biographical in nature. And he said, "Can you come and help us?" I said, "For what?" He said, "We've heard your talk and you think you can help." And I said, "I really don't think so. I don't coach." He said, "Well, I don't know what it is, but I think we can help each other here." And I went through a coffee conversation with a person in Cape Town at my home, and I was still unconvinced. The situation was that their group of 20, 30 software developers in a highly intense, highly chaotic environment, struggling to get things done. And here I'm talking about, according to Growing Agile Ladies, racism, and he thinks I can help you. So it was a weird thing, and I said, well, okay, if you're prepared to go on an experiment with me, I'm prepared. Let's try something. I said, step one, go and tell your client that we need 6 people from your team, because it's a consulting team, and come back and guarantee that they can give up 1 hour a week in 3 months. But the first engagement is 3 hours. And if you can't do that, there's no experiment. And I added a few other constraints. I said, I'm not walking into the building, we'll be to the foyer. Because every time I walked into a building, people think any consultant, any coach knows this feeling. You walk into a building, there's this invisible horse that you're riding on. With a wizard hat, one bag of pixie dust in the saddle, and you can just sprinkle stuff and things just go away after 3 iterations. But the reality is that you tangle in the 3rd iteration, and then you have to pick it up. But anyway, so I said, I'm not going beyond the foyer. I'm not going to sign the security book and get into the building. And I left him, and he went away. We didn't speak for 2 months, and he came back and says, I've got it. On. So I said, well, now what are we going to do? And it was an interesting group of people. So here I am sitting completely out of my depth, trying to figure out an experiment on the fly for a group of people that were struggling by being consultants in a large enterprise space. Very chaotic, very high demand, very intensive, and considerably complex software. Very technical, very complex software. So I sat with 6 people and we had a first round discussion, just having coffee and getting to know each other. And then met for 1 week, 1 hour a week, for something like 3 months. Interesting things about that. We've just been having conversations about what are you doing, what's your work, etc. And without too much prompting, it was things that we see in an agile space started emerging quite naturally, which is most people are multitasking. The amount of work in flight, not visible, but in the heads of people, was immense. And people did not know about it. So we started asking our questions like, so how do you bring this to the fore? And they said, well, we've been through an agile transformation. And I thought, like, oh God, here we go again. So we've been through an agile transformation, and it didn't work. So we don't believe in it. And I said, well, let's stop talking about agile. What are you going to do about the work that's in your head that you're trying to multitask? And one person said, I'm just going to stick it, they live in cubicles. I know, they live in cubicles, it's okay. He says, I'm just going to stick up an A3 page, I'm going to write down all my work. And he started doing that. What happened is that his dev manager wanted to get the status, he started calling his dev manager to his desk, and they were having conversations about this A3 page with work on it. And then the next person said, well, I'm going to also do that. But the other person was a bit lazy, and so the first person was writing on their board. But anyway, so what happened was that the dev manager then started noticing constraints in the entire organizational process, realized that this particular person was unable to complete their work because there's a dependency on someone sitting in Victoria while they were in Cape Town. Cannot continue work, which meant that releases were being delayed, and there was a complete disaster on certain releases. We continued in this way, and largely it was conversations about how they're struggling as people just to get things done. Okay. Underneath all of this was this tone of, again, and a tone of inequality, a tone of not being heard, a tone of tension that comes from deep-rooted societal things like racism, like position in a company, like misogyny, all of those things were under undertone. And it wasn't just within this company and those 6 people, it was spread out. So regardless of being in a democratic society, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh my God, what did we tell people? Because these things are larger than what we actually realize. I then told the person who had originally contacted me, I said, this thing is going to fall flat. We reach Christmas and it's going to die. Unless we scale it up. Okay. Now, we then tried after Christmas by scaling it, and what we did was 6 people that were involved in this, and we had noticed that it was, I wouldn't say it's remarkable, there was a noticeable improvement in their quality of work output. But I can't stand up and say, well, we had this velocity and now it was this. It's nothing like that. It was just, and totally it was more feeling. They then gave feedback to a larger group of what the experience was. And so we then managed to get another 6 people. It failed horribly. Now it's 2 groups, 6. It failed terribly. I even tried saying, well, 2 of you from this group come in here and let's do some cross-pollination, etc. It just didn't work. Going from 6 to 12 people was a significant scaling step. And the tools that I used at that moment in time are now inappropriate. It's doubling. The thoughts that I had around that was that, well, when we think about scale, we think about hundreds, thousands, millions. Realize that scaling is relative. We went from 2 people to 4 people, it's a 100% step. It changes everything. The way you thought about how you did things with 2 people changes when you work with 4 people. going from 1 to 2, and I've been in business, I've started a business myself, and suddenly I bring someone else in, and it feels completely weird. How do we do that? So going from 6 to 12 with the same tool set, the same mindset, is disaster. What also emerged was that here I was making the same mistake over and over again. And that is, even though I didn't go in and peddle a process and say we should be using SAFe or X Scrum because of that, I was introducing a process. The act of actually sitting and convening once a week for an hour, etc., was a process. It was a cadence. It was a system that was emerging. It wasn't defined explicitly, but it was. And the process could not cater for that. So I took the success of 6 and tried to apply it to 12, and it didn't work. We sat back and looked at it again, and I asked the question of my client. I said, so how do you take this to the 30 people in your organization? You can't do 12. And then you want to take it to your client, because you're not living in a bubble. How do you take it to 5? We paused. Again, I said, we're going to try and experiment again. And I don't know why he believes me in my experiments, but regardless, he's attempted. And I said, let's step right back. Let's get to the core. There's an undercurrent that is preventing us from breaking through. There's a difference between people that we're not acknowledging. I said, my hypothesis is that the act of introducing a process is the act of dehumanizing people. Trying to clone people like how I clone servers and scale. That is fundamentally wrong. What if we embrace each person's individuality explicitly? Find core values that actually bind people together. How are we going to do that? They said, okay, let's get 20 people off-site one day, design with a friend of mine that I invited to this day, design a series of exercises, completely experimental, to break through stereotypes. And started off being a very awkward day, ended off with tears and acknowledgement of the hardship that people have faced in their own lives, regardless of where they came from. Some being entitled and privileged, some being completely unentitled and without any resources to get by in their lives. The similarities emerged, the individuality emerged. Found out that the project manager likes carpentry, prefers to go home and cut wood. Now, here's a person trying to get software out the door whose mind is, I hate this place because it's very chaotic. I like the clean lines of the world, a piece of wood. Find someone else on the team who's 50-something years old, who's owned a fish and chip shops, driven a taxi, now is a quality assurance person writing scripts for automation. Wow, that's weird. Find someone else who's a young black girl who feels that everyone over 50 that's white is racist. And then suddenly realizes that the people around her have actually in life done exactly the same thing that was done to her, being sponsored and helped in moving forward in life to this school, essentially being adopted. Those kinds of stories were remarkably touching. It was remarkable to the management of that team. And what it came down to was that at the end of the day we said, well, now what? We looked at it and said, well, why don't we just bring this individuality into the building? So where I'm standing now, and I still work with this team, I meet them 1 hour every second week, and we just chat about such things. Sometimes it's a venting session, retrospectives are venting sessions as well. It's good, go with it. And sometimes it's very operationally specific around a particular release. And sometimes it's about systems of systems, and it's very abstract. But regardless, what started off as chaotic conversations, now sitting at very respectful conversations of discourses that exist within it. Fundamentally, only one thing changed. We gave them permission to bring their individuality into the building. We still have not talked about process. We still have not talked about anything else. All we did was every now and then I'd remind myself, do you realize that it's this agile principle that you're actually putting in flight here accidentally? And it's fine. So we're not opening books, it's through conversations that we're doing this. And so when I think about this, when I think about that scale is relative, it's not only going from 1 to 2, 2 to 10, 10 to 50, 100 to 100,000, scale is relative. The act of applying processes, in my opinion these days, has changed since that time in 2013. Is that the processes, well and good, that brings about a certain vigor of working, has the risk of dehumanizing people, trying to make everyone the same. And that comes from management science, etc. It comes from industrialization. We're worried about the output, we're not worried about the person in the process. I think we scale, and this is my new hypothesis, which I'm still experimenting. So please don't run away and say, well, we must do this and something will work. It's none of that. I'm not on a course here at all. So my hypothesis right now, and what I'm experimenting with, is that we scale more effectively through diversity. That regardless of the process, regardless of the mechanisms, when we give people the permission to bring their personality into the building as opposed to wiping it at the door and then coming in to behave like clones, then we're in a better position. The opportunity to scale comes from the diversity of thinking and the opportunity to work together. Acknowledgement of individuality. That is something that I'm still working on. Which left me with a conundrum. What about this coaching stuff? One thing I realized in the whole situation is that I never put skin in the game. I was sitting on the side, very much interested in my own amateur research of sorts. That I could sit here and have conversations with permission. But it was largely me just gathering information and just reasoning about it and thinking about it and things like that. And, well, what about coaching? A lot of our coaching efforts come in with a well-intentioned position of transforming an organization, transforming a team, even transforming an individual. The ultimate coach, as far as I'm concerned, is still Jose Mourinho. He is the chosen one. Those of you who follow British football. But he's not the kind of personality that we want. Okay? He's an arrogant brute. When they lose, he says it's a fake result. It's all sorts of things. So you don't want to be in that situation. Now, I said that I never put skin in the game. What is there to lose if I fail? My failure there was that I did not put skin in the game. So as well intentioned and really maverick of me to say, I'm not going to walk into the building, retrospectively, I should have been walking into the building. I should have been in the thick of things. Now, in almost every agile transformation that I've been privileged to be part of, there's two things that people want. They want transformation, and they want delivery, software to be delivered. I've never been able to reconcile those two. Go on a transformation path. The closer you get to a release, you give up transformation and focus on delivery. Delivery trumps transformation. In every organization, whether you're a non-profit or whether you're a profit-making organization, I've never seen it where transformation trumps delivery. It takes an immensely courageous person to say, I'm willing to put shareholder sentiment, etc., to the side for a long play. I'm not worried about the software. That is the fundamental tension that we face when we set in a coaching situation. How do we transform into the at the same time? It is a long play. It is not a 3-iteration exercise. It's not a 3-sprint exercise. It's not 6 months. We're talking multiple year play. We're talking about oscillating. This is what I've realized, is that it's why we might not be able to deliver and transform at exactly the same time. Transform and deliver, transform and deliver. It's actually okay to forsake transformation for delivery. As long as the trajectory is right, as long as you are still transforming. And it is a long play. We're talking about a multi-year play. The feedback loop on that is not per sprint. It's not even per release. It's years. Where you can sit back and say, well, we went through this, and the project tanked at this moment. We're able to pull it out. It's still over budget. It's okay. But what is the trajectory over time? So the feedback loop around that is significantly larger, and you need to be able to pause and reflect around that. Transformation for me is a very difficult thing, extremely difficult. I do think that when you work with software teams, transformation through delivery is a valuable approach. That is, the team, and it's not an individual, it's a team of people, embedded in another team of people, can actually transform by doing. You know, we become like the people around us. The act of embedding a team in a team that has exactly the same skin in the game, the embedded team is considered a failure should the software not be released on time. That's skin in the game. There's a bigger skin in the game, which is the long play, that team is also responsible for creating a platform for others to stand in. Now, how do we create platforms? That's a big deal. Most organizations create ladders. So we have hierarchies. Ladders are designed to be climbed in single file. Sometimes you climb with someone ahead of you, and you pull them down, and you stand on their head to get ahead. It's a ladder that is built around this thing of ego. It is built on the mission. It works in some organizations, legitimately so. In an agile organization, it is hard. It is extremely painful. It was probably impossible to change an organization if you are constructing a series of ladders that people will climb up. It is individual ambition. What we actually need very early on is very shaky platforms. The reluctant leader who stands underneath and is holding up his platform and is like struggling. But what we're actually doing is finding the next person to come and stand under so that other people can stand on the platform. It's not the person struggling to do this, it's the people on the platform that actually gives you the balance. So it's the platform that we're after. That platform is also a scalability concept as well. Because the platform you can scale, ladders you can't. And so what I've seen with years of working, and when I start putting on that lens of ladders versus platforms, a lot of things became evident to me. Those ladders exist even within teams. Small ladders. I want to be a team lead. The team lead will be the one that actually makes the final call. Okay. And that might be fine. Okay. But the next person also must be team lead. These are the reality of the workplaces that we exist in. It doesn't go away. But it is the responsibilities associated with the position that is perceived to be the ladder in an agile space that is the key differentiator. It is not about the ladder, it is the responsibilities of people standing on the platform. Now, there's another aspect of being a coach that I have been guilty of. When I started, I became an accidental coach because I used to focus purely on the engineering practices, writing code, test-driven development, all of that stuff, with various degrees of evangelism and varying degrees of standing on the side and marshalling and pointing. Being on the white horse entering the building, you're automatically perceived as the person who has all the answers. It's quite a weight to carry, to have all the answers, which is an impossibility. What does tend to happen, though, is that, I've been guilty of this, is that you actually put up a shield around yourself. shield that is completely impervious, that if you ask me a question, I'll either have an answer, or I'll do the consulting and say, that's a good question. What do you think? Right? But what do you think is this shield? You know what it's shielding? It's shielding my innate vulnerability. The fact that I actually don't know is the vulnerability. You know what's deeper? On self-introspection, I am shameful that I do not know. Carry it as a shame, not as a guilt. Realize the difference between guilt and shame. Shame comes from being unable to do something. You're fearful of yourself. And coaching does tend to do that sometimes. And it sneaks up insidiously. Years later, you realize that you're closed off from the rest of the world because you just know everything. It's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. The moment you tear it down and you stand naked in front of people and you demonstrate vulnerability and expose your shame, you actually start having far more powerful conversations because other people start exposing their vulnerability. Completely. That there is the biggest skin in the game. You're actually standing in the arena, you're not standing on the side like a Roman emperor in the ring of philosophy. You're in the game. You're exposing yourself. You're showing your vulnerability. And that, for me, is the big game changer. You have to be vulnerable. Whether you're a coach or whether you're in the team, you have to demonstrate your vulnerability. That is an extremely difficult thing to do. Extremely difficult. But in the few cases we have seen it happen, there's been a remarkable turnaround within that group. The locus of influence might not be vast, might not be that we're now changing everyone, but it does influence people around it. Now, because it's a small influence, a tiny little ripple effect, brings me to another observation, is that transforming an entire organization cannot be done in one way. Even a team cannot be done in one way. I've had this notion for many years that we bring in this wave of change and everyone grabs a surfboard, hops on it, and goes. And we'll all reach, we'll ride the wave at the same time. And we'll get to the beach and we'll all be new. It doesn't work like that. What made me realize it doesn't work like that? I went for a surfing lesson. It was my son's birthday. Gave him surfing lessons. And like a good father, we'll do it, and it's a bonding moment. So we'll do it together. My son was 10. His coach was a 14-year-old. I'm here, 40-something, with a book, trying to get onto a surfboard, into the freezing cold waters of Cape Town. My son, because it's a bonding moment, got to a point where I stood for 2 seconds and fell off. This young 14-year-old asked him, what do you do? He says, no, I surf and then I go to school. That's like secondary. I said, so how? The surf? No, I'm Western Province number 3 or something. Like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I rode for 2 seconds. I fell off. I said, I'm done. He says to me, Mr. Khan, last week, there were 2 really fat women here. They got on the board again and they did it. I said, yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm going home. I hope my son. So the thing about that was that my son was riding the board almost immediately. The thing is that I caught the wave, I caught the board at a different pace. I've got more muscle or fat memory to retrain in order to get things done, right? But it's not one way. You've got to take cognizance of the individuality of people and take everyone on a journey. It's a different journey for everyone. And so when we go through these agile transformations, there's people that are right there standing with, like me, thinking, I'm not going back onto that board. And there's other people that are waist high in the water, and there's other people that are sailing the board. They're fine. You know what? It's actually okay. Austin, stop laughing. So, it's actually okay, right? So part of that is how do you feedback and receive feedback? It's so hard, right? Because this 14-year-old forced me to be in a position to acknowledge my own vulnerable state, that I struggle to get into a wetsuit, and that perhaps I'm a bit too overweight for the size of ball that was picked out. I don't have the core strength to stand up while a wave is coming at me, and all sorts of things, right? But that's having to be vulnerable in order to go ahead and to make those changes. Now, you don't receive feedback. You give feedback. You've got to be vulnerable. And that vulnerability is that what gives us that awareness about each other. One of the hardest things to receive is critical feedback. You know what? You could have done that better. That's hard. It's like in your chest. You feel it. You start becoming uncomfortable. And you're vulnerable. When you're not vulnerable, you start becoming immediately defensive about that. And those are the types of things that prevent us from moving at a reasonable pace, even if it's stop-start, with a transformation for an organization. Now, there comes with an awareness that act of vulnerability creates an egalitarian organization, one of equality, where there isn't room for ego. There may be hierarchies that exist because of organizational structure and reporting, etc. But those are not ladders of position. They exist because of responsibilities that are necessary at that juncture in our organization. So it's weird in that sense that being a software developer, being an early adopter of some of the engineering practices, which are so rigid, even the act of going through TDD, red, green, refactor, red, green, refactor. Like in Sweden this year, I spoke at a conference called Beauty in Code, and I said messy code is something great, we should embrace it. And I dared people not to refactor. Now, I showed, and I'm not going to show it here because it's sensitive to this community. I showed some code in like 2-point font. It was a 25,000 line class of Java. Right? When I was called in to come help with a performance problem, 25,000 lines. One constructor. No arguments in the constructor. First thing I did was a search for commit, because we're writing data. One commit statement. Okay. How many rollbacks? One rollback. One exception gets thrown. I'm not talking technical stuff. The message in the exception is that something has gone wrong. Not fine. Something has gone wrong. Please contact your business analyst. Right? So, absolute truth. I still have the code. It was messy. There's not a single person on that team that woke up one day, came into work, went back to their family, and their children and wife or husbands asked them, "What did you do today?" "Well, I created the most monstrous piece of unmaintainable code, and I feel fantastic." Like, nobody wakes up in the morning thinking they're going to write this really ridiculous piece of code that is completely unmaintainable and most probably needs 6 or 7 people to maintain it over the next 12 months. What was my response? Now, the geek in me and my ego says, we're going to refactor the crap out of this thing. It's like, bring it on, we're going to refactor it. I had to pause, look at what the value that is going to bring. You know what the solution was? Don't do anything. Leave the messy code, speak to business, it's doing portfolio calculations, schedule portfolio calculations over a week. Was that acceptable? Did you lose any business credibility? No. So it runs essentially single-threaded, several times a day, one at a time, as opposed to concurrently at the same time. Didn't time change a line of code. So why am I telling you this? Because software development is messy. What I want to refactor, for example, what I can have is a decision pattern. There's a gap. You can't always get what you want. I'm not someone like reject, right? That's good. So the thing is that there is a gap. Sometimes you need to lean into the messiness of the situation, embrace it, because that's we are human beings. We are inherently messy. We're messed up. Okay? Our code we produce will be messy. Those of you who are developers here, you know you wake up the next day and you want to refactor. You have no idea how you even got to that moment in time. But if all code looks bad after a moment in time, but it's all well-intentioned. But we have to embrace that messiness, lean into it, so that we can actually be as human as possible. It's okay. Craftsmanship, great agenda, great intention, it is about developing yourself as a person, as a developer. How do you balance that with the commercial viability of the project? Tough balance, extremely tough. Now, let me talk about value. Right? We sit as groups and we say, but what's the value of the feature or story? So what is value? I've seen people come up with things like business point value scales. We've attached brand or dollar values to it. And so we go around in circles around how do we define value, and is this feature more valuable than others? What I've realized is that value is the external quality. It is, I'm prepared to forsake internal quality in a moment to external quality. Where do I come from? We talk about failing fast. Don't fail fast, fail cheap. Not fast, fail cheap. There's two questions I always ask. What's your cost of failure? Is failure to get to market or failure in market? Both carry different costs. If it's failure in market, I'm looking for external quality. I'm prepared to incur technical debt. About failure to get to market. Failure to get to market. I'm prepared to incur technical debt, so I'm first to the line. I use technical debt as a leverage tool, not as a guilt tool. It's a leverage tool, because the cost of failure to get to market is significantly higher than failure in market. Failure in market, I'll look for internal quality as well as external quality. If I want both at the same time, which is what everyone wants, it's a significant cost. Be aware of that. It comes at a very high price. Are you prepared to have that high price? Now, the way I whittle it down as I talk about individual features in a product, say individual releases, and say, if this release fails to get to market, what is the problem? This part fails in market, what is that? So we can't lump it all together. Well, I can't. So we end up in this type of situation. Now, what am I doing for time? Okay. Okay. So, many of you know me from different times. You see me wearing different t-shirts, different hats. At the moment, I'm part of the corporate team. You've seen me in the past, but I've walked around with a few other people, like in studios. At the moment, I'm setting up inside an internship program based on skills development, which I'll come to now, and why. You see me with my own consulting companies, and you see me with another company called Factor 10. Factor 10 was an interesting company. It was built on the premise of a 10 times engineer. A 10 times engineer is the Uber engineer. Right? If one person with the right skill set will produce 10 times more output than someone else. Right? Interesting concept. I participated in it. I couldn't scale it. Firstly, because of the problem here. Because friends that were of mine in Sweden, the company still continues, and they have the density of talent in Sweden to actually scale it. Couldn't scale it. What was interesting was not Factor 10 itself, but because of Factor 10, what I've done after Factor 10. Then after Factor 10, took a bit of a hiatus and spent a little bit of time with a few other people. One team in particular only hires graduates. Maximum experience was 0. How do you produce software? Someone with no experience. How do you actually get people to start writing code? And so it's been with that group for about 3 years, and so now there's one person with 3 years experience. What I've noticed over 3 years is that the velocity, the output, is not discernible from the 10 times. It's the same. How do we get that? Focused on external quality. Focused on writing code that is appropriate for that team at their level of ability. I learned it very quickly, very fast with that team. Wrote some code, I came in and I said, okay, let's see how we can redesign this. The act of refactoring is a design activity, right? We reshape it. It's a design activity. I started reshaping it. I did a commit, a pull request. Everything was great. I came to maintain it. I couldn't maintain it. Because we didn't understand the design principles I was bringing to the table. It was beyond the ability of that team at that moment in time. So what I've come to the conclusion is that if you start gearing a team and you allow them an opportunity to write code at their ability with a little bit of a stretch, small stretch, step up a little, tiny, you can get the same velocity. What is key to both? Attitude, a commitment, sense of responsibility, again brought in a sense of individuality to the team. They start helping each other quite naturally without imposing any processes. Now, where does it leave us? Or leave me? Where it left me with is that fundamentally, within an African context, and a South African context as well, is that when I look at us, we're part of BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Don't know much about Russia. We know that Brazil, India, and China are significant, have significant software development sectors. It most probably, and I don't know, I've never done the research, it probably has a sliver on a pie chart of GDP. South Africa, we don't. We don't influence GDP as a sector. Per capita. Struggle. Why? It's a historical past of colonialism, etc. That's a fact. So I started asking this question, what is holding us back? What is preventing us? Firstly, there's a lack of density of talent. That was my first statement. Oh, we don't have enough people. What about a bit more? Why? The reality is that we're all chasing the top 20%, the A student, the one who gets 80 and above. That is a minority. An absolute minority. We're all fighting for the same 50 people to come work in our organizations because there is the A game. What I've learned over the last 3 years is that there's enough people that fall through the cracks in society, education system. Maybe they just had a really bad day at an exam. But there's a bunch of people that goes from 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%. The middle 40%. If we can find a way to take the middle 40%, take someone who's got a 50 grade, and get them to 70, it's game on. Why? Because we need a density. So look at Brazil, India, China, they have a density of people. Not necessarily talent. There is still a gradient there. We don't have density yet. That is our challenge. How to become globally competitive is to create that density. The reality, which is pretty harsh, is that we are responsible for writing some of the most boring software on the face of the earth. We do banking, we do underwriting software, we do claims, and then we do banking, we do underwriting, we do claims.
HR.
And so, most of the software that we write is actually has pockets of complexity where we do need serious abstract thinking to how to solve those. But volume of software that we need to write is by and large achievable with the right mindset, the right attitude, with some skills that have been put in place. So if we can take, my hypothesis again, we can take people that are 50%, bring them up to 70%, we're in the game. We'll have a density of people that can actually compete, solve our own problems. I'm not trying to solve rather. Associated with that is that we need to extend beyond the borders of South Africa. We're part of an international community. The global community has actually created a silo around us. Colonialism, exploitation, digital colonialism, etc. They're not going to change it. We're going to change it. We're going to have to stretch out and build up relationships across the world in other emerging economies and beyond, and build up relationships so that we can be part of global density that actually can have a positive impact on society in this world. So, I started working a lot with interns and graduates. In the last 3 months, I've interviewed about 150 graduates. 3 weeks ago, I interviewed 50-something, 2 people, various institutions, 2 people knew what Git is. Git is a version control system. I'm not going to ask you to give a compliment. But it was telling that 2 people out of 50 some odd knew what Git was, whereas a version didn't, and it was not like they knew what CBS was, Subversion, Mercurial, and others. TNS, no. So people are coming out of our education system completely ill-equipped for the first day of work in an organization. You sit down, you get a login, what's the first thing they're going to ask you? Clone that repositories, there's the code, start working. What is clone? Okay, that's what we're looking at. Now that can be fixed. That can be fixed in 1 week. Whereas more telling, because I asked people, what's your greatest fear? So over 100 people, various backgrounds. 3 emerging fears that came out. 1, fear of failure. Now, it's not fear of failure of yourself. It's fear of failure that you will not be able to accomplish what you set out to accomplish for the people around you. If I fail, my brother fails, my sister fails, my mother fails, my family fails. There's an immediacy to the failure. The fear is crippling and it's paralyzing. One fear. Second fear, fear of death. The society that we live in, whether it's violence, HIV/AIDS, and other things that have infiltrated our entire existence, fear of death. Why fear of death? If I die early, I will not be able to help. There are people that are around 21, 22, 23 years of age. Third fear. This one broke my heart. I literally started crying in interviews. Fear that the people that brought me to this moment in time will die before I can offer them my gratitude. That's the reality of the society in which we live in. There is an impact that we need to have to change the way we work. We focus so much on density, on scale, and all of these things. Fundamentally, these are the realities. A friend of mine, HIV/AIDS researcher, shared the story with me. He says, but we've known this all along. He explained, there's research with the KZN, HIV hotspot, well, highest density. Because people with HIV/AIDS, most impoverished areas, understand what HIV is, what AIDS is. They understand prevention, but they don't participate. They don't take it. The reason was, they have nothing to live for. Now, as a software development community, we have a responsibility to give people an opportunity to live. We have a responsibility to bring people into the building with their individuality, with their fears, We have to build up a density of people that we can take from 50% up to 80%, so we can be globally competitive. That cannot be achieved with an ambitious mindset of ladder style thinking. We have a responsibility to build platforms that span communities, that span organizations, that span continents. That's where we are at right now. And so as a software development community in an Agile conference, I am appealing to you to keep that at the back of your mind when you start going forward. You're going to hear lots of different things here at this point. A lot of it is very precise. From DevOps to lines of code to processes and how to be a better coach. I mean, here sitting in front is Karen Greaves and Samantha Lang. They add Agile to everything. They would probably have Agile bacon and cheese rolls. So they can make everything, right? So ignore most of that. The reality is that taking all of that, really all of that, and keep some of these bigger picture agenda items with the long play. Our feedback is not about reacting immediately, it's about determining our reaction time. That's the key to feedback. It's not the immediacy in this instant everything work. Think about the longer plays, about transformation. You don't have to react immediately. Pause, give yourself a chance to think about it, and then move on. Fundamental change that I have gone through in the last 3 years is that I used to react immediately because I thought I understood feedback. I realized that feedback, to receive the feedback, there's a reaction time that is appropriate. If you get the reaction time wrong, feedback is worthless. Figure out the reaction time and it's game on. So thank you very much. To say much more, we're around the conference. Happy to take conversations with you now.
Are there any questions for us? We've got a few minutes before we break out. Yeah, a question over there? Yes. Fair content. The question is, I said we have a responsibility as software developers to give people a reason to live. How do we go about doing that? It's the small things that we do. Okay. So look at this audience here compared to the first Agile Africa. What is pleasing about this audience is that I see a demographic shift. There are people that are much more diverse becoming part of it. When you understand the core of a person, where they come from, you can actually subtly embrace them, and they will embrace you. The act of embracing gives them a reason. There's nothing dramatic, there's no manifesto attached to that, there's nothing like that. It's understanding people who they are, and realize that there might be some similarity between you that goes beyond every action, talk about trust, every action that payload is trust. You can either build trust or destroy trust. Anyone else? Good? Thanks, Aslam.
You're at the conference.